Is crypto and the stock market about to sell off aggressively? Now, before I get into this, make sure you subscribe, turn on your bell notifications. Everything I say here is very time sensitive. Now, unfortunately, it does look like it's a matter of when, not if, us going to basically war with Iran. Basically because, in my opinion, this is just like allegedly, we can't really afford, or not necessarily like our country, but you can probably guess the country, cannot afford to have them continue to progress their nuclear programs or their missile programs and all that kind of stuff. And so we basically have to like big brother this other country to go step in and kind of do their bidding, which is the unfortunate reality. Now, obviously that's going to affect the markets, the whole, global economic kind of landscape. And so what we tend to see happen whenever these like wars break out is there's always going to be like some kind of crash in the markets. And then after that, we kind of see a expansionary kind of growth, right? And the reason being is because we have to basically print money, right? That's kind of like the excuse whenever it comes to like war. Unfortunately, like war is very profitable when it comes to just, the powers that be, right? Because that basically indirectly creates inflation. And so the price of assets go up. So, could we see a sell-off? Probably. That's why I think we've seen such a rally when it comes to like precious metals, because there's just, one, there's not a lot of trust within the fiat system. And two, it's just uncertainty, right? So if everything kind of breaks out and this goes to like worst case scenario, which I don't hope it, I hope it doesn't. I'm a very, pro advocate of like peace. I hope that we could all just like get along, but unfortunately, greed kind of prevails when it comes to all these kind of like geopolitical landscapes. And I don't want to get political. I don't want to do any of that kind of stuff. This is just obviously this is a channel to help you guys make money and capitalize off of whatever's going on. And so what I think and what I have been saying is things do look bearish in my opinion, like in the macro landscape of things. Now, obviously, the United States dollar is like the best of the worst, I guess, if you will. And I think that, whenever it comes to your investing strategies and kind of like digesting everything that goes on, a lot of people that are kind of like not in the know, they just kind of panic on every kind of like news article that comes out. And unfortunately, the news is just like never ending. And it's just always like in your face. And there's just way too many things to kind of digest. And so what I think is kind of going on, like I said, is I think that the administration and the government with like the United States, I think that they're just looking for any kind of excuse when it comes to these negotiations with Iran, because, we cannot afford to have them and continue to like basically enrich like their nuclear program or their missile program and all that kind of stuff. Because like I said, unfortunately, we do the bidding of other countries, and that would severely impact them and put them in a very, vulnerable position, in my opinion. So that's why I think it's kind of like a matter of if not when. Now, I really do hope that cooler heads are going to prevail. The fact that it's being talked about so much and there's a lot of like posturing, you could look at this two ways, right? Like whether, the US is already kind of doing damage control of like what they're going to say whenever they continue and they proceed to basically attack, or, maybe this is just a big posturing to force the Iran kind of regime to either switch or concede to whatever the demands are, right? So I do hope that the peaceful route happens, but, remains to be seen. And so obviously this is all going on with like the whole, Clarity Act kind of stuff with crypto. We have the Fed kind of coming out yesterday, very uncertain. Like I would say they're very, very, just very much on opposite ends, right? Like you have some people that are saying like we should lower the interest rates. Some people are saying we should higher them. There's a lot of just nervousness when it comes to the whole macro environment. So that also makes me very, very nervous, right? Obviously we have a new Fed chair coming in May. We have midterms coming up, and the good thing about midterms is, both sides kind of want to give away like helicopter money so that they can have like their votes, right? So, there's just a lot of things kind of going on, but historically speaking, midterm years are not really ideal for markets. It's typically after that. So I just wouldn't be in a rush to basically be throwing all my money into the market. Like I've been in the market for a long time. I continue to just dollar cost average, and just whenever I see something as an attractive buy, obviously I buy a little bit more, but I'm always planning for the worst, as you guys should as well. And I think that that's where a lot of traders get everything wrong, right? Like it's always just like very emotional, and maybe you get like anxious, right? Like, oh, I really want to buy this asset because, I haven't been accumulating, and what if it just goes up, right? Because obviously whenever the headlines come in, and like most of you guys, I believe, are in crypto, and there's just always like these narratives. It's always like the new narrative of why like you have to be in this crypto, or like that the market's going to go up. But the sad reality is like we've just continued to go just straight down, right? A little bit of consolidation down. And until that changes, I wouldn't be too optimistic, just realistically speaking. Now, I'm very, very bullish on Bitcoin and crypto, like long term. I think that that's going to be like the main asset class of the future. Like, call me crazy, but that's what I've always believed in. And I know it's been very, very, underwhelming recently, but crypto's by far been my best investment. It's changed my life. I know it's changed a lot of people I know, and just a lot of people just I've seen across the board. And that's why patience kind of like rewards you, right? Like, it's not always easy. And if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So I understand the frustration. Again, I would not be like over leveraging or taking out loans to do anything. I'd be very, very patient. A lot of you guys have been asking about like OpenClaw and like how I'm using it to like optimize my day, or like even to like make money. Cause now there's like even like a marketplace, right? Where like they basically, you can have people like vibe code an app or like an application, and then you can like sell that on like an open market for OpenClaw. So I'm gonna be diving into that as well, because I wanna help you guys make money to have the money to invest as well. So stick tuned for that. And again, make sure you subscribe, turn on your bell notifications. Everything I say here is very time sensitive. Drop your comments below with what you think is going to happen and what kind of topics you want me to cover next. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.